Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the Leadership Paradigm webinar presented by Higher Education Market Strategies, LLC. My name is Dr. Robert Lawrence Salter, and I'm your host today. We are going to have an amazing seminar, the objectives of which are to discuss and define leadership. Secondly, to discuss the 5 levels of leadership. And thirdly, to list and define neuro leadership and its qualities. If you have a pencil and paper, you might want to take notes. There will be a few activities that I'll ask you to participate in to enhance your learning experience. So get your pencil and papers handy. Are you ready? Let's get started. First of all, what is leadership? Leadership is the ability to influence, motivate, persuade, and otherwise empower others to contribute to the overall effectiveness and success of the organization's effort and for its members. There are basically 5 levels of leadership that have been identified by management theorists and psychologists. The first one is called position, which is directed by rights. Secondly, permission, which is directed by relationships. Thirdly, production, which is directed by results. Fourth, people development, directed by reproduction. And finally, personhood, directed by respect. Let's unpack that. The first level of leadership is position, which is directed by rights. Essentially, people follow because they have to in this situation. For example, the President of the United States is by rights of the office the Commander-in-Chief. All of his military leaders have to follow his orders. In position leadership, your influence will not extend above the authority lines of your job description. The longer you stay at this level, the higher the turnover and the lower the morale. But you can counter this by accepting responsibility, doing your job with consistent excellence, do more than expected, offer creative ideas for change and improvement. You know, a real leader knows the difference between being the boss and being a leader. The boss drives his workers, the leader coaches them. The boss depends on authority, the leader on goodwill. The boss inspires fear, the leader inspires enthusiasm. The boss says I, the leader says we. The boss fixes the blame for breakdown and the leader fixes the breakdown. We're talking about the 5 levels of leadership, and the second leadership level is permission, which is directed by relationships. People follow because they want to. You know, Beyonce is the most popular singer-entertainer on the planet. Literally millions of her fans want to be like her. In permission leadership, people will follow you beyond your stated authority. This level allows you to be fun. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Leadership begins with heart and not the head. So every time you focus on energy, focus on activities that place the individual's needs and desires ahead of your own. Try to make those who work with you more successful. Strive to see through other people's eyes. Do win-win or don't do it all. Include others in your journey and deal wisely with difficult people. Again, we're talking about the 5 levels of leadership. The third level of leadership is production, which is directed by results. In this case, people follow because of what you have done for the organization. The Apple brand has become the standard for phone and computer technology. And that company's success is attributed, for the most part, to one person, Steve Jobs. In production leadership, you can initiate and accept responsibility for growth. You develop and follow a statement of purpose. You develop accountability for the results, beginning with yourself. You know and do the things that give high return, and communication strategy and vision of the organization must be continually repeated. And finally, you must make difficult decisions that will make a difference. The major difference between permission and production is that you focus on relationships. People get together just to get together. You know, it's kind of like workplace intimacy. The commitment to know people behind their job title and function and role is essential. You see, in intimate situations in the workplace, you must be trustworthy because you know that you're bound to your team in the long run by your shared purpose. And of course, the result is people get together to accomplish a purpose. Again, we're talking about the 5 levels of leadership. The 4th level of leadership is called people development, which is directed by reproduction. People follow you because of what you've done for them. Few people have not heard of or seen Joel Osteen. He's rarely referred to as a pastor, even though he's the head of one of the largest churches in the world, but most people know him as an amazing motivational speaker whom countless number of people will testify of what he has done for them. People development leadership is characterized by long-range growth. Specifically, a commitment to developing leaders will ensure growth to be effective in your organization. It's important to continue to do what you do to maintain this achievement. A great leader, listen to this, a great leader is great not because of his or her power, but because of his or her ability to empower others. So how's that done? Well, first, you realize that people are your most valuable asset. Second, you place a priority on developing people. Third, you must be a model for others to follow yourself. And fourthly, expose key leaders to growth opportunities. And finally, the 5th level, which perhaps is the greatest level of leadership, is personhood, which is directed by respect. People follow you because of who you are and what you represent. Now, when it comes to representing freedom and justice and equality, few individuals in recorded history are held in higher esteem than the personhood of Dr. Martin Luther King, the so-called drum major for peace. Personhood leaders have followers who are loyal and sacrificial. You become sought out by others, and you have mentored and molded others over a period of time. So, what is this thing called leadership in terms of perhaps what is the key ingredient? It's integrity. Integrity is defined as the state of being, complete and unified, where words and actions match. Integrity is not what we do so much as how we do it. Integrity binds our person together and fosters a spirit of contentment within us. When integrity is the referee, we will be consistent. Our beliefs will be mirrored by our conduct. You see, integrity builds trust. It has a high influence value. It facilitates high standards. It results in solid reputation, not just an image. It means living it myself before leading others. It helps a leader to be credible and not just clever. Integrity is hard-working achieved. Now here's a great thought. You will only become what you are becoming right now. I'm going to repeat that. You will only become what you are becoming right now. Though you cannot go back and make a brand new start, my friend, anyone can start from now and make a brand new end. Our leader in the United States from 1953 to 1961 was President Dwight Eisenhower. Listen to what he said about leadership. In order to be a leader, a man must have followers. And to have followers, a man must have their confidence. Therefore, the supreme quality of a leader is to have integrity. Without it, no real success is possible. His teachings and actions must square with each other. The first need, of course, is integrity, and the second is high purpose. A study was done on leadership, and it was concluded that the ultimate leadership test, the litmus test, if you will, for leadership is creating positive change. That study profiled troubled leaders, leaders who had a difficult situation and were failing as leaders. 12 profiles were identified of those individuals. Troubled leaders have poor understanding of people. They lack imagination. They have personal problems. They pass the buck. They feel secure and satisfied. They're not organized. They fly into rages. They won't take risks. They're insecure and defensive. They stay inflexible. They have no team spirit, and they fight change. And as a matter of fact, of those 12 troubled profiles, 5 of them deal with unwillingness to change. Let's do an activity. Activity number 1, folks. I hope you have your paper and pencil handy. On that piece of paper, draw 2 lines, horizontal, side by side. On the left side, or the left lane, if you will, write the word attitude with your dominant writing hand. Then on the other side, write the word attitude with your non-dominant hand. Now I'll give you a second to do that. Okay, when you look at the word attitude written by your non-dominant hand, you see a picture of the kind of attitude we usually have when we do something new. Are you feeling that? Well, at the beginning, when we first got started, we said that one of our objectives for this webinar is to introduce the term neuro-leadership. Neuro-leadership is the art of synchronizing the brain with leadership behaviors. It offers the best hope for affecting real change in a leader and within an organization because understanding the impact that our emotions and behaviors have on those around us is key to success or failure. We as leaders need to be change agents. But why do we resist change? First, perhaps our followers lack respect for the leader. It could be that the leader is susceptible to feelings of criticism. Or perhaps the leader may feel leading will create a personal loss for him or her. Perhaps it requires an additional commitment that the leader is unwilling to make, and perhaps it's just downright human nature to resist change. And before we leave, let's not forget about the problem-solving connection. In other words, the performance component. Research shows that there are 4 reasons why people don't perform the way they should. 1, they don't know what they need to know. Number 2, they don't know how to do it. 3, they don't know why they do what they should do. And 4, there are obstacles beyond their control. Then navigation from point A to B becomes a problem. Sometimes in life we meet roadblocks along the way. How do we solve a problem? Well, solving that problem is a matter sometimes of having to go backwards and retrace our missteps. I know that happens to me a lot when I'm driving and I get a little confused and get lost. The best way for me to get back on track is to literally turn around and go back to where I last knew that I was on track. Listen, when we hit a roadblock, we can do three things. One, we can just go through it because it makes us stronger as a result. Or we can get quiet because we're weak and need time to reflect. Or third, we can go backwards and find a new route. The skill of a true leader is knowing which path to take in a given situation. Because, listen, there is no one size that fits all. Strategy mapping is useful to get around roadblocks. Sometimes a strategy map that has all three of the above options that I just mentioned, to get quiet, to go through it, or to go backwards, may be helpful to have them all together in one mapping plan. So, now that you've identified a problem, you need to bring attention to it. Solving the problem results from the right attitude and the right action plan. Let's talk about the right attitude first. Our attitude is our most important asset. A couple of quotes. What lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us. That's a quote from Walt Emerson. Life is 10% what happens to me and 90% how I react to it. Get this, we are 100% responsible for our attitudes. 100% responsible for our attitudes. I like to put it this way in a magic context. The supervisor complains about the wind. The manager expects it to change, and the leader adjusts the sail. At the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, it's all about hope. H-O-P-E, have only positive expectations. Okay, it's time for exercise number 2. Let's do another one. On your notes, take 30 seconds and list 5 negative attitudes that you know about, or you see in yourself or see in other people, that affects others right now. 5 negative attitudes that influence how others relate to you. Let's do that right now. Okay. Are you surprised at what you wrote? Well, let's look at it this way. Over the years, management theorists have documented 6 stages of attitude change. What we're trying to do is transform culture, or saying it another way, we want to generate right thinking within organizations. There's 6 stages of that. The first stage is to identify problem feelings within an organization. The second, stage 2, identify problem behavior within the organization. Stage 3, identify problem thinking. Stage 4, identify right thinking. And then stage 5, make a public commitment to right thinking. And stage 6, develop a plan for right thinking. So recapping those one more time. Stage 1, identify feelings. Stage 2, identify behavior. That's a problem. Stage 3, identify wrong thinking. Stage 4, identify the right thinking. Stage 5, make a public commitment to right thinking. And stage 6, develop a plan for right thinking. So, that's the right thinking, the right attitude, if you will. Now, let's study the right plan. Developing people takes planning time. People skills are essential for success. You can be a model for others to follow because people do what people see. People's minds are changed more through observation than through arguments. You can lead others by looking through their eyes. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow said, "We judge ourselves by what we feel capable of doing, while others judge us by what we have already done." So if you're a leader, it's time to show it. How do you do that? Well, you give credit where credit is due. It's not all about you. Correct grievances quickly so that they don't have time to fester. You can encourage others, and by all means, don't criticize others in front of others. Ask others' opinion, because 2 or 3 heads are always better than one. You can give positive feedback when demonstrated, and please don't show favoritism. Well, and here's our last activity for this webinar. List out a vision of an ideal leadership team. Give me 5 characteristics or qualities that you would love to see in a leadership team that you participate in. You can do that right now. If you don't have those things within your group, you can create them. You can be a leader. You can be a change agent. Thank you very much for listening to this webinar today, and we appreciate your attention.